My first day as Ryan's teacher was chaos. His iPad blared violent clips, the kids panicked, and he screamed when I approached. Blake Ellison, his father, met me with cold disdain. You think your community college degree means anything to me? I froze, humiliated. But I documented everything that night. The next day, Principal Hawkins backed me quietly. Ryan clutched his iPad tighter than ever. That device wasn't just tech. It was his shield, and I knew I had to dismantle it gently if I wanted to reach him. Each morning, Ryan entered with the iPad held like armor. The other kids gave him space, too much space. I sat nearby, reading stories aloud. One day, he paused his video when I said volcano. I didn't celebrate, just smiled. Lena Foster passed by and muttered, "Good luck with Ellison's spawn." I swallowed the bitterness. Later, Ryan looked up and mimicked a dinosaur roar. Just once, my heart jumped. I scribbled it in my notebook. The iPad still loomed, but cracks were forming in his digital wall. I introduced a group project with paper volcanoes. Ryan refused, screamed, the class stared. Blake stormed in, demanded a meeting and slammed my methods. "He's 4, you're failing him." I held my ground. Lena whispered, "Ellison's last teacher quit." That night, I cried, then rewrote the lesson using story time. No screens. Ryan didn't bolt the next day. Instead, he sat, close, still clinging to the iPad, but listening. That was enough for now. When Ryan repeated lava eats rocks, I let him lead the group. For 5 minutes, he ignored the iPad. Blake saw it during pickup, and sneered, "Parlor tricks," he said with that same icy tone, but Principal Hawkins clapped Ryan's back, saying, "This kid's got spark." Lena nodded at me. Small alliances mattered. That night, I created Dino reports in daily art stories from Ryan. The iPad dimmed in brightness the next day. So did his fear. A substitute aide panicked when Ryan screamed and tried to take his iPad. I found him crying in the reading nook. "I was showing the dinosaur," he sobbed. I sat beside him calm. "What did the dinosaur do next?" He sniffled, whispered. "He ran fast." Lena later told me Blake called, furious again. "You think your community college degree means anything to me?" Echoed. I exhaled deeply. It was never about credentials, it was control. The twist came during a rainy day indoor session. Ryan ignored the iPad, picked up a puppet, and narrated a whole volcano story to the class. The kids clapped. Blake arrived early, froze at the door. His eyes softened just for a moment. Later he muttered, "She loved volcanoes too." I blinked. His wife, Ryan's mom, that was the wall. I nodded. He's finding her voice again. Blake didn't respond, but he didn't sneer either. Blake requested a meeting. This time just him. He sat down and sighed. I didn't know how to talk to him, he admitted. The iPad, it was easier. I nodded quiet. "Let's do better," I said. Ryan came in that morning holding a painted volcano. No iPad. He ran up and said, "Today it erupts." My heart nearly burst. The iPad now sat forgotten in his cubby. Ryan played tag, painted lava, laughed freely. Blake dropped by, watched silently, then whispered, "Thank you." Lena smirked. "Didn't think you'd last a month." I smiled back. Neither did I. But I did, not just for Ryan, but for every quiet child behind a screen, and for teachers like me, who keep trying.